Good morning. So this morning I'm joined by Jon White, who's the Chief Marketing Officer of RS Group. Jon, thank you very much for giving up your time this morning. Really appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure, Susie. Great to see you.
Just going to give a really brief context, if you like, for people listening. So I won't go too much into your background, so obviously going to go into that with the questions. But you're CMO of RS Group. Currently, you've held some really big roles in your career. Partner at Outfit UK, MD of Elwood Design, European Marketing Director of Kimberly-Clark. And what I think is rather lovely is an alumnus of the Marketing Academy Fellowship. So everybody I've ever met who's been through that program, through the fellowship program, one says it was one of the best experiences of their lives, and two is a really impressive senior marketeer. So you've got a kind of a broad commercial marketing background in more recent years. We'll talk more about your earlier career, but grateful to you for your time. Are you happy if we kind of dive straight in with the question?
Absolutely, yeah, no problem at all. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. So I'm interested really in what led you into this career in marketing, because I know it's not where you started, and kind of how did it all come about?
Yeah. Well, the whole career's been an interesting journey, Susie. I started out in engineering, manufacturing. I actually left school at 17 and did an old-fashioned apprenticeship at the time in the aerospace industry, and spent 15 very happy years as an engineer within manufacturing facilities, and that through a couple of different moves, it led to me being at Kimberly-Clark, which is a fabulous global business, American-based global business. But I was doing manufacturing. I was a manufacturing leader there. But with their help and support and doing some leadership qualifications, ended up doing an MBA, and sponsored by them, which was brilliant support. And as a result of that, I ended up having a career conversation that said simply, listen, you can carry on doing manufacturing projects around the world if you'd like to and move on to the next one, or with your MBA, maybe you'd like to get some commercial experience. Yep. And that was the phrase. I was like, this sounds really interesting. A kind of MBA sort of talked a lot about commercial, and I said, what does that look like? And they said, well, we'd send you get some sales and marketing experience. I was like, listen, I've got nothing to lose. Let's give it a go. And subsequently, they moved me from the north of England down to the headquarters in the south of England, and threw me at some sales and then marketing roles to see where it went. And in a roundabout way, fell in love with it, and I've never moved back. And great opportunity to see a different part of a business, but to learn new skills. And I did. I spent a year probably thinking, have I made the biggest mistake in my life? Shall I go back? And then spent the rest of it going, this is great. I'm seeing so much of the business and people and diversity, and just saw opportunity to learn. And that's just took it from there, really, Susie.
So all thanks to Kimberly-Clark then, and their very forward-thinking way of, transferable skills, learning new things.
Yeah. I absolutely feel very lucky to have landed in a place at the time, and I'm not sure how prevalent that would be these days, where there was a business that was basically saying, look, we're bringing talent in. It was a big project that I joined within, and they brought in 10, 15 engineers, quite senior engineers at the time, and saw it as a talent pool, and sort of said, look, it can be a manufacturing and engineering talent pool, or let's see where it goes. And within that, a couple of sponsors. There was a couple of key sponsors that kind of I got to know that said, yeah, I'll sponsor Jon to get some commercial experience within our business. And the combination of the two, the qualification and then the career sponsorship cancelling, sort of unlocked it, I suppose.
Well, good for you. And as they say, the kind of the rest is history, because you're now in a very big CMO role for RS Group, which is an impressive global omnichannel business. And I just want to talk for a minute about, kind of go from one extreme to the other, kind of done that change in career and, many years later now in this very big role. And it's at a time where we're seeing a lot of change for marketeers, marketing technology. There's a lot of stuff going on within the marketing world. So a lot of stuff for a CMO and that team to kind of deal with. What kind of impact have you seen on your role and your team with these kind of changes?
I mean, marketing's intriguing to me now. I mean, my strongly held belief is to make sure that marketing is seen as a strategic and commercial function.
Yeah.
I think there's a real danger that people see it as a sort of a creative hub, if you like, the idea generation, okay, the creativity center. And yes, we need to be creative, right, as marketeers, but fundamentally, and it's maybe a bit of that engineering background, that tangible thing in me. It's like, yeah, so what? Creativity or technology for what? And so I've always been sort of a huge supporter of saying, look, marketing, because it can see the full breadth of the business inside and outside, can be both strategic and commercial, and then functionally excellent. Okay, and I think what's brilliant now is the onset of better and better technology, better and better data. Okay, is allowing us to do that functional bit and tie the functional to the commercial strategy much better than it's ever been. I think that I always felt there was a bit of a leap of faith with marketing in businesses when I first started out, whereas there's the commercial strategy,
yeah,
leap to the brand strategy, and the links were there, but they were more tenuous than they can now be in terms of targeting, tracking, monitoring, reacting, being agile, and responsive. And I think that's super, super, super exciting. That really plays to sort of my mentality again, probably as an engineer, because I'm like cause and effect. Okay, and therefore the onset of data and technology in particular, I think, has been a fantastic unlock to proving cause and effect from a marketing point of view, tying it back to the commercial strategy of the business, which just makes you have a far more valuable conversation in the boardroom and in the executive room, where marketing can often be seen as a misunderstood, creative sort of mystery, okay, and less tangible and less commercial and less strategic. I think that's been super exciting for me to see, particularly over the last 4.5 years when I've been at RS Group.
It clearly plays well to your strengths and to your point, kind of back to kind of your engineering and the way that your brain works. And fundamentally, with the changes and the advancements we've seen with data and MarTech stacks, it's much easier to demonstrate that return on investment for marketing budgets and things now. And obviously why you've been very successful and are successful in the role that you do. You've managed lots of teams through periods of change, and I was just wondering, you're clearly very good at the leadership. Do you have any guidance or any lessons you've learned or any kind of suggestions to other leaders who are also looking to kind of navigate their teams through periods of change?
I mean, there's a couple of sort of guiding principles, I guess, that I sort of stand by. One is just, this sounds really simplistic, but it's amazing how many times when I talk about it, it sort of seems to resonate with people. When I came into RS, it really felt like teams and people had jobs in marketing at RS, but didn't feel like they had careers in marketing at RS. And I there's this, to me, there's a distinct difference. It's like I can both see and trust in a plan for me to develop as an individual, but also develop and manage my career. Okay, and it came from one marketing probably not been as mature and evolved in RS, and therefore, marketing were just jobs. But what people did as a result of that was they thought in their functional circle. Okay, I'm in social, I'm in PR, I'm in digital. Not I'm a marketeer in a business, and therefore I need to learn about all of this business from all of its angles. And if you're going to be a senior marketing leader, you need to be able to 360 a business and an environment. Yeah. Okay, and look at it from all different angles. And I think that principle applies to change, because when you think about change, you've got to think about being inquisitive and doing an assessment, a 360 assessment of where does this fit? Where does this fit within what I currently do? Where can it fit in what I can do in the future? And therefore, that sort of inquisitive nature and path tracking, if you like, I think works really well in a change agenda, and it works brilliantly from a career and team and personal development perspective. And I think one of marketers' great strengths is that ability to explore, assess, to navigate in a much more rounded way problems, opportunities, and circumstances. And in fact, I think I've seen many times how marketing can bring that to an organization, because a really inquisitive, critical nature is a great starting point to get the best out of any function, any change opportunity, and your own development and your own career. And so that approach has certainly worked very well within RS. But as I reflect on that, it's worked very well as I've thought about my time in marketing. When I was in engineering was very black and white. Okay, it was very functional. And when I think about the business I'm in now, it's absolutely not critical at all to say there's some more technical functions that will be like that. Marketing can play a brilliant role in sort of helping people open their eyes to the landscape. What does that mean? What's going on here? Where can that fit? What's the opportunity? What's the risk? Okay, and that inquisitive nature is just going to help everybody on that journey. So I think we can play a great role as a marketing function in helping individuals, teams, but also organizations to be open, be inquisitive, explore, assess, review. I think there's phrases that I would naturally associate with good marketing.
I think it's a really interesting point, and you mentioned it, so the beginning of that, about that difference between people feeling that they have a job versus a career, and then the minute you move on to the career element, where they can see there's a progression and there's investment and there's potential growth for them, the engagement goes through the roof. So it's a really great thing to be able to do. Thank you for that. That's a really, really detailed answer there. Looking forward to the next couple of years now, we've kind of spoken about lots of change that we've seen. What do you think might be some of the key priorities for senior marketing leaders over the next couple of years? What do you think are on the kind of the big to-dos, if you like, on their agendas over these next couple of years?
Listen, how many years now have we been banging on as a function about technology and data? And it's absolutely true. That landscape has changed immeasurably. But personally, I think it's only in the last couple of years that I've started to see us join the dots between the enablement, the technology and the data, and great valuable use in the bigger picture. Okay, it's worked brilliantly at a granular level. I've got a channel, it's some new technology, it can help me with this channel, this engagement, and I can see great data coming out of it. It's only now that I think as organizations and therefore marketing leaders are beginning to feel confident enough to step back and go, I can see where this all fits together, and it fits together into the big picture. So what? Okay, not the granular detail of individual interaction or channel or piece of technology. It's like, I can see how the data set and the technology can be lined up end to end to manage my customer engagements and relationships in totality, and therefore connect again to those outcomes and those commercial deliveries. And the many may disagree with me about that, but I've, I'm a cynical old engineer that's now a marketeer, right? So, I tend to sit there listening to these conversations about technology, data, AI is now the talking point, and listen, go, where does it fit? Where does it fit? And people can argue that there's a ROI on this neat case of this interaction or this platform or this channel, and I kind of go, yeah, okay, I will justify whether we invest in that on this little business case that's associated with it. Great, fine. But I'm still looking at it going, yeah, but that's not really helping me in the big picture, right? It's continuous improvement type stuff. I think we can now sort of see, wow, if I get this data ecosystem lined up properly, if I can get the technology aligned against my strategy, I can see how there's enough of it now, I can see it end to end.
Yeah.
And I can therefore see how I can connect commercial strategy to my customer strategy through to my customer experience to my outcomes. And I think that's the great unlock for me, right? There's a place for continuous improvement. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. But I'm now beginning to think, right, I think there's enough of this that we can actually join it all together and have a coherent connection between data technology, customer strategy, back to commercial strategy. And that really excites me. So, most of my time now is spent at RS kind of going, look, we've built the capability within the team. We've got the technology either available or on the roadmap, the data ecosystem the same. I'm really excited now about how that's all going to line up and really unlock the big opportunities rather than the smaller continuous improvement opportunities. Yeah. That's where I spend that and talent and team, where I spend most of my time now, and I would imagine that would be the next 2 to 5 years probably. Focus.
That's a game changer then, isn't it, when you reach that point?
Yeah, I think it is. Because you can suddenly own it all. Okay. Because one of the big challenges in marketing is still getting the magic and logic to line up and be able to tell it in a really coherent way to the organization. So they go, I totally understand all of this investment and how it can return for the business, right? So you're going from debating, agreeing, arguing the micro ROIs to the macro ROIs, okay? And that is super exciting because I can, in our instance with a complex kind of customer relationship, right? We deal with industrial customers with multiple contacts within the business with different personas and agendas. It really is quite complex. But suddenly I can see that we'll be able to track completely end to end that full customer interaction, which means cause and effect again. We do something here, I can see what impact that's going to have across all of these different personas within a very complex, multi-site, multinational, maybe even global customer base. Well, that helps me tell some brilliant stories about what happened when we put these investments in these places and got to those outcomes because I can see the customer. That's super exciting and I think changes the narrative that about marketing's role within managing the customer end to end rather than generating demand or brand equity alone. Critical, yes, but now I can see the full picture. That's a game changer. Yeah, there's no doubt that's a game changer.
I can see you're looking forward to that. I can see that really appeals to the way your brain works. What about advice to other senior marketeers and thinking with this one, particularly people who listen to this and think, I would love one day to be CMO of RS Group. I'm a head of marketing now, I'm a director of marketing now, I aspire to be a CMO. what advice would you give to those ambitious people sat in those roles who are looking to you to go, I'd like to be like Jon? How do what are my next steps? How do I get to that stage?
I'm just worried about people saying they want to be like Jon. Listen, I've been very lucky to see very diverse business situations, sometimes from different functions, but also I worked on the agency side for 8 years. So I saw a lot of businesses over a short period of time from the other side of the table, and now into RS. And that, by the way, that journey is part of why I feel very comfortable doing the job I do now, because I've just got more experiences looking at problems from different angles, and that's helped me immensely. And my first thing to say would be just gather up as many diverse experiences as you possibly can on the journey, because it will help you, no doubt. Because the biggest challenge I've had in this role has been to assess and adapt to marketing's position within the organization. Okay. Because I think it's very easy to come in as a great marketing leader and go, I can do marketing. Great. Right. Let me look at the marketing challenge. Okay. Let's get on with this. We've got a brand equity problem, or we've got lack of technology here, or, and go, right, I can sort marketing out. Okay. Well, where does marketing fit into the big picture of the organization? Right. How do people assess marketing? How should it be assessed? And what's the journey between where we are and where it needs to be to get the best out of marketing? Okay. And that's been a huge unlock. I think I may have talked to you about this before, but when I joined, for example, marketing wasn't a very mature function within RS. We were very much a sales and product-led industrial distributor selling products. Okay. No criticism. It's got the business to a fantastic place, but the strategy of the business was to be, a different type of business. And that needed a different type of marketing, and it needed marketing to step up, but it wasn't there. So if I'd come in and gone, look, here's a blueprint of marketing, leave me alone, I'll tell you exactly what marketing needs to be in this business, leave me alone and we'll crack on and it'll be brilliant. Okay. I'd never have been allowed to do it because I needed money and support and interaction, and therefore you have to go, well, what's going to help people go on this journey? And if I'd gone in and said, let's talk about brand, okay, I'm sure most of my senior executive partners would have pigeonholed me, in a corner of they're the logos, badges, colouring in people in the corner, right? Okay, I'm being dramatic to make the point, but so we did a simple thing. We actually replaced the word brand with customer for a long period of time. Said, we're not going to talk about brand. Okay, it's going to actually turn people off to what we're trying to achieve. We're just going to say customer. So when we would have normally said brand strategy, let's say customer strategy. When we talk about brand equity, let's talk about customer equity or customer value. Okay, but you can't argue with customer. Okay, and it just helped talk a language that allowed people to engage with it in a positive way. Okay, and then gradually we brought the brand word in later, and so it helped people understand what role the brand could play in that journey. But that assessment of where we wanted to be versus where we were as a function was critical, I think, to allow us to do the thing we needed to do in the first place. Okay, and so don't just be a brilliant functional leader. I've met many. Okay, you've got to be a brilliant functional leader that can position the function within the organization in an appropriate way to allow you to do the things you need to do. Okay, and that's as I've got older and more experienced, that's become more and more of the unlock to being successful in these types of roles. Okay, hire great marketing people, develop great marketing people who can do the function, just guide them, support them, give them career paths, give them enablement. The unlock for all of you is that you get the other senior stakeholders in the organization to understand, respect, and support what marketing can and should do as you go on the journey. So that without a doubt has been the biggest unlock to success since I've been at RS.
And that breadth and diversity. that you've had in your career and your way of thinking. Brilliant advice. Thank you very much. And to finish this off, we always talk about mindset at the end, because I think there's a common link between all of the senior people that we interview for these Q&As, and a positive mindset is kind of the obvious thread that goes through. And is there anything that you do, I don't know, either in terms of a daily habit that you're able to share, or anything that you do that helps you maintain that positive mindset, that would be a good tip for other people?
I'm not massive on routines, so I have some things, but I'm not massive on routines. I don't know why that is. Again, bizarrely engineer, you would think there was all structure and things in it, but actually I get a bit bogged down by too much structure and routine. So, but there's a couple of tricks. One is walk the floor. It probably goes back to my manufacturing days, and by that I mean, when I go into the office every day, the first thing I do is I walk around, talk to everybody, okay, and find out what's going on, get a feel for what's going on, okay, and then we've got a couple of key touch points that we've put in place, or I've helped put in place in the organization, like weekly trading, where you can touch the pulse of the organization quickly and kind of go, what's going on in the business, okay, and that's pretty broad. That's everything, right? What's happening? What's the data say? What's the news in the business about how we're performing or whatever? And that helicopter view, but also inquisitive nature, stimulates me to go, where's the opportunity? Where's the risks? Okay. And it's where those opportunities and risks lie that give me energy to kind of go, what are we going to get done? Okay. Or to reiterate what's still important, or to question what isn't important. Okay. And I think so, touching the sort of mood of the business and using data to constantly check where we're at and challenge yourself to kind of go, are we on the right track? Are we turning the right stones, or are there stones that we're not turning? Just gives me the constant energy to kind of go, right, we are on the right track, or no, got to intervene. There's something here that doesn't feel right. Okay, so let's go deeper. And I find if I don't do that, I can just jog along, and I'm trying to generate my own energy. Now, I do generate a lot of my own energy. I'm an optimist, though, right? A lot of marketers are, right? The glass is half full. But I need, for the business point of view, the stimulation of where are we? How are we feeling? What's going on? What's the mood of the place? Those are critical to me to kind of keep that motivation, focus, drive in what I do.
It seems to me that you get a lot of energy from being with the people in the business. So, from being like physically present, and those conversations, you just kind of walking the floor, etc. It sounds like you get a lot of really good energy from that kind of interaction.
100%. And listen, we're all working in a world now where you're not in the office all the time, right? And I generally always go in the office on a Monday, and that is a bit of a routine, and it's empty, literally empty. Our office of 150, 200 desks has probably got 10 people in it, okay, for obvious reasons, but it sets me off well for the week. It sort of gets my mind into work and whatever. But I'm generally in the office 2 days a week, okay, maybe traveling around for one other day, and I'm probably a couple of days at home. But I need a lot of this as well, even when I'm here. Okay, I need to be able to talk to people. So Friday is a schedule of lots of individual discussions, again, to just touch base and get a feel for how's things going, and are we on top of that, and is that working or whatever. And that topping and tailing of the week also helps me sort of kind of go, all right, we're okay. Or I know what we've got to get into next Monday when we're back in again. So yes, there's the interaction, physical, ideally, but you can replace it really well in other ways, in the way we work today.
Very true. Very true. Jon, thank you. You've given some really detailed, fascinating answers. I'm sure there'll be a huge benefit to those listening, and I'm really grateful to you for your time. I like your idea of kind of the beginning of the week being in the office, and then on the Friday doing those kind of conversations so that you can, I guess, get your head sort of set up for the week ahead. But thank you so much for your time, and wish you continued
Pleasure.
success.